I want you all to close your eyes and imagine this. You're just talking with your parent about school, the weather, anything really. And they look at you and say, "I hate you. I wish you were never born." How would you feel? Would you be sad? Would you cry? Or would you just internalize it? Or your friend comes up to you and says, "My dad hit me last night, but it was totally my fault. I shouldn't have gotten that bad math grade anyway." Would you just brush it off, or would you recognize that this is child abuse and that this is not okay? Child abuse is when a parent or guardian, through failing to act or through action, causes death, emotional harm, or risk of serious harm to a child. And these fall under the main four forms of emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, or neglect. Now, there are a lot of myths surrounding child abuse and a lot of stigma around it. One of them being that kids will get over it over time and it's just a phase. When in fact, adults are still deeply affected by the child abuse and trauma that they went through. And they need the proper care and support for the very good part of the rest of their lives to live full and happy lives. Another one being, it's only abuse when it's violent. Abuse can be violent, but it's often parents establishing their power over children and making the children feel like objects rather than people. Some facts of child abuse are that 4 kids die every day from child abuse or neglect. These are the kids that have such a positive outlook on the world, and they could do anything, whether it be being a doctor, musician. Their lives get cut too short because these parents have these built up aggressions, whether it be not getting a job promotion at work that they really wanted or a failed marriage, and it's one hit too far, one insult too far. In one study, people found that 21-year-olds, more than 80% of them, qualified to suffer from one or more psychological disorders. Studies are shown that these adults are still deeply affected, and through this trauma that they had, they start to get this inability to form meaningful relationships, whether it be with a partner, a friend, or someone else in the family. And they start having lifelong self-esteem issues and all that. State agencies found that there are 686,000 victims of child maltreatment. This would pack 10 modern football stadiums. Now I want you all to close your eyes again and picture your nearest football stadium, whether it be the big house or somewhere else, being filled with people, but instead of it being screaming fans, it's filled with kids ranging from infancy to senior year of high school. And they all have marks on them, whether it be obvious or whether it be words like "I hate you" written on their arms, because that's how they start to feel about themselves. And they start to have various insults that their parents have told them over the years written on them. Or they have that one handprint on their face that they tried to cover up, but it just didn't work. And they look at you, and they look at you with this look of, "Why didn't you help me? Why didn't you ask if I was okay? Why didn't you help?" Studies have also shown that 80% of child abuse victims were 2 years of age or younger. 70% were not old enough to start kindergarten yet. These are little kids. And these parents, like I said earlier, have built up aggressions. The kid got a mark on them or came home with a bad grade on a spelling test, and the parents got angry for no reason. And now these kids are gone, and when they had such bright futures, because these parents can't release their anger in a proper way. Abuse does not discriminate. Abuse happens in every socioeconomic area, rural and city, And it happens within all races, religions, and all that. Why am I up here talking about this? So it started when I was about 6 or 7. My parents got divorced. And I would go see my dad every 2 Sundays, 10 to 6. He told me I was why they got divorced, because if I wasn't born, maybe they could still be the happy family and they could have the kid that they always wanted, the kid who had a future. And I just brushed it off because I was like, if this was true, maybe my mom would have said something, maybe someone else would have said something, maybe it's not my fault. Then I was always one of those kids, and still am, where I say the most inappropriate things in public, and my family gets totally embarrassed by it. But I did it in front of my dad one time, and as soon as we had gotten back to his house, he looked at me, and he didn't say anything, but my dad was still a very heavy smoker. And he took one of his cigarettes that he was still smoking and threw it at me, hit me right in the arm. And it kept going. He would light another one, throw it at me again. And I would always wind up having to wear long sleeve shirts home because I was like, it's my fault. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. If I had just kept my mouth shut, it would have been better. And I just started really hating myself. And I got depressed. I have anxiety. I just kind of just built this wall into myself. And I just didn't like who I was. And I just started kind of hating the world and just being so cynical and pessimistic. But a few years later, like the transition between 8th grade and in the high school, it brought up the question of college. And when I had asked about my college fund, no, I can go to this school and be able to pay. That's when I found out my college fund was gone because my dad spent it on drugs, on alcohol, on strip clubs. And I was like, I'm kind of screwed. And when I had asked him about it, he said, oh, it doesn't matter anyway. All you'll ever amount to is working at Burger King, going to community college right along with your sister. So it doesn't matter anyway. You didn't have a future. People who have helped me through this. So starting from the farthest right is my forum. And these are some of the greatest kids I've ever met. And they're all so positive and so great. And when I had talked to them about what my topic was and all that, none of them gave me the stereotypical daddy issues and asked me what my stripper name was, because all strippers have daddy issues. They told me the words that I needed to hear compared to the words that everyone was saying to me, from it ranging to, I'm sorry, to, I wish that never happened to you. They told me I was strong. They told me I could do this, that I was brave. And that's what I needed to hear. In the middle is my mom. And when I told her about what had happened, she never stopped, and still is currently, making sure I never see my dad. And she hardly ever brings up his name. But when I told her, she told me that I was going to be okay and that I was fine. But ever since I told her, we built this bond, and without that bond, I don't think I would be here today. And finally, to the farthest left is my forum leader, Robbie. There have been so many times where I've shown up at her office, mid-panic attack, mid-anxiety attack, just crying my eyes out. And I just talked to her, I was like, if I'd been a better daughter, maybe my dad could have loved me, maybe my mom would be less stressed out, maybe my family would be okay, maybe I would be okay. She told me words I still carry around today of, this is all a reflection on him. This isn't on you. You're still a great person. It's him. He's the parent who messed up, who just wasn't a proper parent. When a victim comes to you, always remember 100% of the time that safety comes first in every situation. Keeping in mind that the situation will not go away when a victim gets removed from the house, but it does make the situation a lot better. Also, reinforce that it is not their fault, because most, if not all, victims have this constant feeling of, it's my fault. If I had done this, if I had done that, if I had done something more. Also, remember to never interrogate the child. Let the kid tell as much as they're willing to tell at that moment. Don't push them, don't prod at them, just let them talk, and when they're done, use what they've told you and move past it. A solution. So, as a society, we've always been tearing each other down when someone talks about their issues or their problems, because problems should be buried under the rug, should be just totally pushed away, not talked about, when in fact we should all be coming together as one and reaching out and giving that supporting hand to someone who comes forward and says, my dad hit me when I was younger. And just giving someone that support, whether it be about this or whether it be about anything. To anyone who is going through this, your current situation is never your final destination. And please always remember that you are strong, and I applaud you for getting out of bed in the morning and living when life isn't looking that great. And please never listen to anyone who has anything negative to say about what has happened to you, or just totally denies that it happened or trivializes your problems. And as someone who has gone through this with some of my friends, the friends are the people who will help you through this and support you 100%. What I like to call surface friends are the people who you'll joke around with in class, but as soon as you tell them about your problems, they trivialize it. They say, oh, are you sure that really happened, or you were just overreacting? Behind me are resources both in the US and around the world for anyone who has questions, who is going through this and would like to call and just talk to someone over the phone, whether it be because no one's listening to you or because you want to just vent. Thank you.